and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here another pen for review, and you can see here, this is a Narwhal pen, but this is a slightly different and special Narwhal pen. So first, before we do the unboxing review, I'd like to thank Colt Pens for sending me this pen for review. I'd also like to thank them for providing a 10% off promo code if you want to order this pen, and I'll put the link in the description below, or any other pen or ink or notebook. If you add Penultimate 10 promo code at checkout, you'll get 10% off your order. So I'd like to thank Colt Pens for both sending me the pen for review and also for the 10% off, so that you can get 10% off your next order, whether or not you are a new or existing customer. So you can see here, this is a Narwhal pen. Comes in the standard Narwhal box, but look at this. It has the Colt Pens logo on. And you'll see here, med or medium. So this is a medium nib. And it is a Narwhal Colt Pens exclusive. And that's why this is a special pen. So Narwhal, if you don't know, is a Californian, USA-based company offering cheap and affordable pens made out of semi-translucent acrylic. Now, Colt Pens managed to team up with Narwhal to make this Colt Pens exclusive. So let's remove the lid of the box. First off, you have the Narwhal user guide and warranty. You'll see here it is a piston pen here. So it is a piston filling pen. You have the pen here in this sort of foam-like bedding. So I do like it when manufacturers do this, because so many times pens will rattle around in boxes when they're being shipped, because packages get thrown around quite a lot in transit. So I do like it when there is no way that this pen can move around. So that's just a little touch that I like. And then we have the pen here. So I think let's put the box back on. There's nothing else under that there. So as I mentioned, this is a Colt Pens exclusive. And let me show you here. You can see here, there is quite a bit of chatoyance in this material. You can see it has some sort of blackish, almost purple, I'd say it's probably more black, sort of pattern swirls going on here in that material. Now, you have a cap finial, just a metal plated dome. There's no finial here on the piston knob. You have a clip here, and it's tapered into what I would almost say is probably a snake's head. Very similar. The clip is quite tight, so you will need to add a little bit. You can't sort of press here, but you will need to try and pull that clip out a little bit to probably slip it into maybe a shirt pocket to clip it on. But that isn't a downside necessarily, because it just means that the pen is going to actually stay in your pocket. It's not going to fall over if you put it in a shirt pocket and then you go to bend over, for instance. Now, in terms of the pen itself, it tapers into the cap finial here, tapers out to about here, and you would think that that is a cap ring, but it's not. It's a ring on the body, very similar to actually what Visconti do. And then the body starts to taper down a bit to this metal ring here, and then you have the piston filling knob. If I unscrew the cap, you'll see here it has a number 6 size steel nib, and this has a Narwhal logo on. Now, I understand that Narwhal do make their own nibs, at least that's what they claim on their website. Definitely, they do look quite interesting. You can see the feed there as well. This is actually quite a nice pen. It is a piston filling pen, so you do twist the piston there too, and you might be able to see it here on camera, that piston here moving down and then moving back up the pen. At least I can see it here under my studio light. Now, in terms of size, this is actually a really good size in my hand. Weight is actually quite nice. I can post that cap. Now, you will probably have to be a little bit careful, because if you push this on tight, you can activate that piston. So that's one of the problems with some of these piston filling pens where you can post a cap. So that, personally, I don't post caps. I rarely post caps. I know a lot of people do. So I would say that's just one thing to be careful of, because it doesn't post deeply enough to go over this ring and grip onto the body. So that's just something to bear in mind. But again, it's not a real negative. It's just, if you're going to post your cap, you do need to just be aware of that. Now, as I said, in size of my hand, this is actually a really good size, a really good weight. I think these pens are pretty affordable. This pen comes in at £40. So this is a Cult Pens exclusive, and £40 for a pen with a steel nib, I think, is a really good price. So I do like that here. Now the nibs, you are a little bit more restrictive on this. This only comes in a fine or medium nib. You can't get an extra fine, you can't get a broad, you can't get a stub. Maybe that's one of the downsides, perhaps. If you are more of an extra fine writer or a broad writer, then you're going to be sticking more really with the fine and medium nibs that come with this pen. So I think with that, let's do a size check, we'll do a weight check, we'll do a pen comparison, and then we'll do a writing sample. So the full length of the pen with the cap, we are looking about 146 millimeters in length. The length of the cap, we're looking at 61 millimeters in length. So it's actually a really good size pen, and I will do a check here. So the tip of the nib, or tip of the tines, we're looking at about 132 millimeters in length. So I typically say something over 130 millimeters is what I class lengthwise as an oversized pen, and I would say that this definitely is an oversized pen. It's a piston filling pen, so you'll get around about 1 milliliter of ink, a little bit, maybe 1.2 milliliters on a lot of pistons. So you'll get probably a little bit more, if not almost double, than a standard international converter you would get. So in terms of ink capacity, this is actually quite a good ink capacity pen. So I think with that, let's do a weight check. So the full weight of the pen, and bearing in mind this is uninked at this moment in time, it's just under 29.5 grams in weight. The weight of the cap, we are looking at just under 11.5 grams. And then the weight of the pen, uninked, is almost 16 grams. So with a milliliter of ink, 1 milliliter equals 1 gram in weight. So it's going to be about 17 grams fully inked in your hand. Now, I just want to show you something else here. This is the cap, and you might be able to see this a little bit better without the nib or the pen and the nib inside it. But this is quite translucent there, so you can sort of see behind that. You can see through. There is like a little bit of an inner cap there to help stop the nib drying out. So I think this material is actually quite nice. So I think with that, let's do a comparison with other pens. So from left to right, we have a Visconti Ashford, we have a Visconti Race Tech, we have a Visconti Queen's Jubilee Limited Edition, we have a Visconti Homo Sapiens, and this is the Bronze Age. We have the Narwhal Blue Lagoon, and this is the Cult Pens exclusive. We have a Pelican M600 Turquoise White, a Pelican M805 Vibrant Blue. We have a Twisby, and this is the Mini AL in gold, a Twisby Diamond 580 AL, and a Twisby VAC 700R in the iris. Let's go into a writing sample. So this is the Narwhal, and it's spelt like this. It's the Blue Lagoon, and it's a Colt Pens exclusive. Now, this is a medium nib. It only comes in a fine or medium. Now, the ink in here today is Diamine China Blue, which is a nice blue ink. Quite an underrated ink, I would say. Now, in terms of line variation, this is definitely putting out a Western medium line. Now, in terms of can I push the nib a little bit more, I can. This does go towards a broad, you can see there. And you can get a little bit of line variation out of it. But ultimately, it is a steel nib, so you're not going to get a huge amount of line variation out of it. Now, I do find that this nib dries out a little bit too quickly. In terms of ink wetness, so it is quite a wet writing nib. And we'll do some cross strokes as well. It's not a fire hose nib, but it is quite a wet nib. So for me, it's not a bad writing pen. What do I like? What do I not like about the pen? So I love the price point. £40 UK pound. You really can't go very wrong with that. It's around the price of some of the lower end TWSBI pens, and I think with a beautiful acrylic here with some swirl patterns and chatoyance, I think that's not bad, and you get a piston filling pen. I like the size, like the weight, like that it has a piston as opposed to a cartridge converter, although that can be a negative sometimes for some because it can take longer to clean out the pen. Personally, I like both cartridge converters and piston filling pens. I'd say the downside, obviously, with a piston filler is that you cannot then switch to a cartridge converter, which some of you might want to do, or even a cartridge. But you would know that when you're buying this pen. What do I not like about the pen? Now, I did find that this pen would only write a couple of lines out of the box initially. I did find I had to play around with the nib a little bit. I found the nib was a little bit too tight on the feed. I know Colt pens haven't had any other concerns from other customers so far, so I think this probably was just a one-off, but I thought I would mention that there just in case. But as you can see here, after I fiddled with the nib slightly just to create a little bit more gap between the nib and the feed, you can see here it writes flawlessly and it writes very well. There's no hard starts or skips, but I did have a little bit of an out-of-box experience there that did sort of make me wonder to start with, but it's all good. All I had to do was just lift the nib slightly off of the feed and it was perfectly fine. So you can typically get that with some of the cheaper pens, the 20, 30, 40 pound pens. No pen manufacturer is going to have no issues. There are always going to be some issues out of the box, and it just really depends on how many customers do have issues. I think a lot of people do like the Narwhal pens. I think they like them for the price point. They like them for the material. And they like that they have steel nibs as well. So I'd like to thank Colt Pens for both sending me this pen for review and also providing me with the Penultimate 10 promo code. So you can not only get 10% off your order if you buy this pen from Colt Pens or any other pen, ink, notepads, whatever you want to buy. So if you add Penultimate 10 at checkout, you'll get 10% off of your order, whether or not you're a new customer or whether or not you're an existing customer. So I'd like to thank Colt Pens for both sending me the pen for review and also the promo code so that you can get 10% off this pen and anything else you order from Colt Pens. So that's my review of the Narwhal Blue Lagoon Colt Pens exclusive. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye-bye.